Hello and welcome to Beyond the Pom Poms, the first and only live interview-style web or TV series produced specifically to showcase pro cheerleaders and alum. I'm your host, Austin Jordan, and just to let everyone know out there, you obviously can see in the corner our lovely guest that we have this evening for you that Selena and I are hopefully interviewing, but we're all having some technical difficulties. I don't
A
know
little bit.
Yeah, I don't know quite what's going on. Anyway, this lady, I'll go ahead and introduce her. Her name is Ashley Bond. She is Chicago Bulls Dancer Alum, the Luvabulls. Excuse me, I'm not just getting familiar with that term this past month or so there, Ashley. But she's also Miss Illinois 2009, a very highly regarded personal trainer from what I've been hearing. So without further ado, Miss Ashley Bond, how are you doing, Ashley?
Hi, good. How are you guys?
Well, one of us are great.
Selena, yeah, we'll ask her how she's doing when she gets on.
Yeah, she keeps texting me. She has a black screen, is what she said. Yes, she's downloaded the software again and has a black screen.
That's what I had for a little bit, so hopefully it'll get better.
Oh, okay, fantastic. See, this is my thing. I get on here at like an hour early and start up the whole program and start embedding files and sharing the information to where people can go find us and watch us live and all that kind of fun stuff. So I'm always on here for a long time, so it's kind of crazy for me. But anyway, Ashley, let's just kind of take it a little easy here for a moment and hopefully see here. If you could, obviously you're a Luvabulls dancer. I love that, Luvabulls.
Yes. I know. I think it has a nice little ring to it.
Yeah. It's like you love the Bulls, so you dance for them. That's awesome.
Exactly.
But we did have a guest on here that had NBA dance experience in the past, which was Bonnie-Jo Laughlin, which I'm sure you probably are quite familiar with. But we didn't get the opportunity to really dive into the dance, to the NBA dance side of it, because she did NFL cheerleading as well.
Okay.
So we really kind of want to pick you apart here. I mean, not in an intimate way, of course, but we obviously want to find out as much about dancing in the NBA as possible, since you're our first real dancer from the NBA. So, but before we do that. Can you tell everybody out there that's watching, and myself, because I actually don't know this, but what kind of background did you come from? Did you do ballet, freestyle dance in high school, cheerleading, or any of that kind of stuff? What kind of background led you to being a Luvabull?
Well, my parents actually put me in dance classes starting when I was 2 years old. So I did tap, jazz, ballet, all that kind of fun stuff in a studio growing up. I left there probably when I was about 12 and did youth cheerleading. So we performed at all the football games and the basketball games. Then once I got to high school, I decided to try out for the Pom team. So I made that, and I was on there for 4 years in high school. And when I went to college, I went to the University of Illinois in Champaign. Woo! And I joined the Lionettes, which was the Pom team there. And we, again, performed at all the home football and basketball games. So my love for sports continued to grow as I was in high school and college, performing at all of the live events and all the sporting events. So I was always a huge sports fan, and it was a great way to be up close to all of that and still have my own thing and my own things to work on at the same time, which was dancing and performing. So I decided that after I left college, I really, I took a year after school. I went and worked at Disney World for a little while, and I performed there in some of their shows, at Magic Kingdom, which was very fun. So definitely still danced and still performed, but I came back to Chicago after being out in Florida for about 6 months, and I was like, I really miss the team aspect of being a part of a dance team. And so, I love Chicago. I love all of our sports teams, and the Bulls was a great option for a few different reasons, just because it's the Bulls. I grew up loving the Bulls. Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman. It was great. I remember watching all those championship games when I was younger, So I was like, gotta go there. And, you know, we actually don't have an NFL team in Chicago anymore. That ended in 84, I believe 84, 85, when last time they were in the Super Bowl. So I don't know, maybe that's a coincidence. But yeah, so the Bulls was definitely a good fit, and I was super excited to audition for them. And I guess the rest is kind of history.
Well, it's an extensive history. I'm impressed. I had no idea you had that much dance experience and that much cheerleading experience. And correct me if I'm wrong here, but from my understanding, from a lot of girls that we haven't had on the show yet, obviously you're the first real NBA dancer per se. I shouldn't say that. I don't mean it like that. But you're the one that is really into the NBA dance. I mean, you did it for 6 years. I mean, that's amazing. But it's bleh, okay. I'm stepping all over my tongue now because I said something I shouldn't have said and I can't get over it. But from my understanding, from all these other ladies, NBA is more concentrated on the actual dance aspect of it, opposed to cheerleading and cheering type routines. It's all more choreography and dancing. Is that correct from my understanding?
You know, actually, I would say that a lot of that is very correct. You know, on a football field, you don't have, since I've performed on both, you know, you don't have the ability to do certain movements as you do a basketball court. It's a court, you know, you have more options and more freedom in terms of the types of dance moves and moves that you can really do. And, you know, a basketball arena is smaller than a football arena. You know, a football is somewhere between 70 and 150,000 people, whereas a basketball arena is usually somewhere between, you know, 20 maybe to 30, 28,000. You know, when you're doing football, I feel like you have much bigger movements because there's so many more people there. So yeah, I would have to say that in my experience, especially coming from college and kind of doing a little bit of both, I would have to say that basketball probably has a little bit more of a dance aspect to it because you can do turns, you can do leaps, you know, that floor provides that opportunity. And there are a lot of basketball teams from what I've seen, I believe the Los Angeles Clippers and a few other teams, I think Boston might have this too, where they actually have a cheerleading like group that does tumbling and stunts and different things. So I can totally understand why people get confused by people being called cheerleaders, you know, because when you're younger, in high school and in college, the cheerleaders are the ones doing the flips. There's men on the team a lot of the times, you know, they're doing pyramids, they're yelling with megaphones, whereas the Pom team, you know, all of a sudden when it becomes professional, they start to become called the cheerleaders. Yet I don't feel like we yell as much. The Bulls, I was very fortunate for the whole 6 years that I was on it, and that actually has changed a little bit this past year from what I know, is that we were one of, I believe, 4 or 6 NBA teams that got to sit on the court during the games. So we sat on the court pretty much the whole entire game. We did do a little bit of cheering because we sat on the sidelines there. So I felt like we were always on and always performing the whole entire time, sitting on the court, you know, and then getting up to dance and then coming back to our location. So we definitely got to be right up in the action. So it was very easy to kind of be a cheerleader in itself anyways, because, I mean, it's your team, those are your favorite players, a great play would happen, and you're like, oh my God, this is so great. And then you're like, oh, I have to be sitting and look nice and, like, get back to my spot. But it's, but it was super cool, at least for me. That was one of my favorite parts of being on the Bulls, was being able to sit on court and be a part of that live action. So yes, in a very long-winded answer to your question, I would have to say that yes, it's probably more dancey than NFL. And that's just a guess.
Okay, well, you confirm a guess that a lot of other ladies have told me as well, but that's awesome. See, this is why I love this show and love being able to get guests like yourself, because that was all so informative. You know, I had no idea. Honestly, I mean, I love the NBA. I watch NBA basketball games, but I had no idea that the cheerleaders, well, dancers, I shouldn't call them cheerleaders.
Yeah, see, you know, it's like, but that's what we are called, so it's like, hey, you know.
Yeah, but I find it really neat that most dancers leave leave the court, and like you said, 4 or 5 teams actually have their dancers kind of double as cheerleaders at the same time, and that I never knew that, and I've watched basketball probably not as long as I've watched football. I started watching football in 1979. I'm old. I'm sorry, but telling my age a little too much here. But yeah, I mean I've watched basketball forever, and I had absolutely no clue. So I mean thank you for that answer. That's awesome. So I'm sure tons of people out there appreciate it. Now let's talk about something else in terms of dancing.
Yes.
What was your kind of typical week like? Because I mean I'm really familiar, and a lot of our viewers are really familiar with NFL cheerleader schedules, because we've had quite a few NFL cheerleaders, obviously, because of some other things that I own and things like that. But the basketball schedule really gets me, because you have 82 games. You're playing sometimes even 5 games a week in the NBA.
Yes.
Obviously not all home. But that brings me to another question. Let me ask you this question before we get into that one. Do the NBA cheerleaders travel, or do you guys just do home games only?
So we did only the home games. As far as I know, from my understanding, I don't know of any NBA team that does away games. So from what I understand, everyone pretty much just does home games. We only did home games. I will say that the Luvabulls had a very had multiple opportunities and a lot of chances to travel overseas, actually, sometimes through the NBA, especially since the NBA is trying to do a lot of things overseas and in other countries, bringing awareness to countries that maybe don't get a chance to experience a lot of professional basketball. So I will say I have traveled to other countries to perform, but that being said, all of our home games were home games, so no away games.
Awesome. See, that's awesome. It's just a spur-of-the-moment question. I had no idea I was going to ask it. You didn't either. But anyway, back to my original question before I led to another one there. So sometimes, like I was saying, you could play 2 to 5 games per week. So yes. What is a typical week like being a Luvabull?
When I was on the squad, we had always somewhere between about, it ranged every year actually to be a little bit different, but average there was always about 24 to 30 girls on the team. So when there was a game, they actually rotated us, and our rotation was about every other, every third basketball game. So we would always have practice twice a week. Even if there was a game on practice night, practice would get moved to the next night. So we always had practice twice a week, games in between there, and appearances. So just because there was, for example, 4 games in a week, that didn't mean that I would necessarily be dancing all 4 games. But you also had to be available for every game, though, because there was a chance that if somebody was ill or injured, then obviously they need girls to fill in those spots. So, so there was always an opportunity to dance all of those games, but that didn't mean that you were for sure going to dance every single game. So each week kind of changed, whether it was, 3 days of commitment, 5 days of commitment in terms of practice and games, and then obviously there's appearances as well. So, I mean, some days you'd be doing stuff every single day, a few times a day actually, and heading to the United Center or heading to practice, and so it kind of varied, but it's a huge part of my life, as I'm sure all the girls have said, and my schedule, we all had full-time jobs or were going to school, but it was kind of like, at least for me, that was kind of everything else in my schedule kind of revolved around the Bulls. So each week could be a little bit different, but crazy fun.
Awesome. Well, that's crazy. Yes, you already answered another question that you brought up while you were talking for me to have, and you answered it. So I love that. That's great.
Yay!
That's what we need to do. All right, so I see that another one of us here have got our technical difficulties worked out, and of course, this is a familiar face to most of you out there watching. It's my lovely co-host, the one and only Miss Selena Samano. Hey, Selena, how you doing?
Hi, Austin. Thank you for the introduction. And Ashley, I'm so sorry about joining late. I just could not figure out the Google Chrome situation.
Oh my gosh, that's okay.
But
I had some issues too, so.
Oh my goodness. As soon as I joined, I could hear you talking, and I was like, okay, wait, what's going on? So I kind of already got to hear a little bit about the NBA experience because I'm really excited to have you. You know, coming from the NFL world, I don't know much about NBA. I don't think it's on my horizon, but I admire you guys so much because I know there's tons of games, and you guys work so much. So I'm really happy to have you on, and I can't wait to learn and be inspired just along with our audience from anything and everything you can share with us.
So, well, thank you so much.
Well, we'll let Selena get caught up a little bit here in thoughts. You know, we discussed Ashley's background before she got into being an NBA cheerleader. Did you hear all of that, Selena?
I heard the rotation of the games with the girls and the appearances. So. Okay.
Well, before that, we discussed what Ashley did before getting to the NBA, being an NBA dancer, her background a little bit, and she gave us tons of insight. She has been dancing and cheering for a very long time, all the way through college, even. Did you say from the age of 12 or 9? 2. Okay. 2. I knew there was a 2 in there, so there we go. So she's been doing it for a very, very long time, and she obviously is very good. And we found out she's been doing it for 6 years in the NBA, you know, and the schedule and all that kind of stuff. And just so you know, Selena, Ashley's a little long-winded, so this is going to be a fun show.
I know, I totally am. I really am. That's funny you say that because it's absolutely true.
I am too. It's okay. He's gonna have to deal with it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna, you know, I'll turn this show over here in just a moment once Selena gets her over a little bit of frustration, maybe from not being able to get on here, and let you guys just do all the talking. Because I mean, let's be honest, I'm not the reason why people are tuning into this show. I just produce the show and advertise a little bit. But anyway, let's talk about something else you did. Why you were an NBA dancer. It's something that's kind of near and dear to my heart. I had 2 aunts that I don't really want to get into too much, but they're pageant girls and models, and one of them was on a cover of a major magazine and all this kind of thing. So they were really into modeling, and they got started in modeling by pageants. So if you could, since I've kind of let the cat out of the bag without saying it, but anybody that's watching this show already knows, could you give us a little bit about what your experience was in 2009?
Yes, so 2009 was a very, very exciting year. I decided that I wanted to try and compete for the Miss Illinois USA competition. And actually, I had tried for that the year before as well. So in 2008, I both tried out for Luvabulls and made that, and then tried to be Miss Illinois USA 2008, and that year I placed in the top 16. So the next year I decided I wanted to try it again, and I did. I worked really hard and, you know, kind of just personally worked on a lot of stuff that I wanted to work on. I've always been into fitness my whole life, but that was something that I even wanted to take up to the next level. It was my second year being on Luvabulls, and I was super excited because we have to audition every year. So I was obviously very excited to be back again for another year. And I think you're always trying to work really hard and prove yourself and prove that you deserve that spot all year round. And so it was an intense but fun working really hard for both of those things at the same time. So I actually won on December 7th, 2008, and I became Miss Illinois USA for 2009.
That is awesome. Well, I know Selena's familiar with that kind of stuff. I won't give away any insider information here, so I'm not going to federal penitentiary for talking about Selena. But I know Selena likes to talk about cheerleading, obviously, because she's very familiar with it. If you don't know, Ashley, she's in her 3rd year now of being a Cincinnati Bengal, so you know,
yes,
we're proud of her here.
Very fun.
but I know she's always interested in the audition process. What is it? One of the questions that she always something about the audition process. So if I'll go ahead and just ask a question for her because I know she's going to get into this. But what was the audition process like for you with the Bulls? Obviously, you said you have to compete every year, so that's awesome. And then Selena, I'll shut up and let you kind of take over here from here on out. How's that sound? All right. So if you could please just speak to the audition process for the
Sure. So at the time, you had to send in an application to basically kind of apply to come to auditions. Every year, there was anywhere between 200 to 300 girls trying out. Tryouts were exciting because they were at the United Center, which was really cool because that's where all the action takes place. And it's a huge arena. So it was really neat to be there. Every year, there was a whole long day of tryouts, and cuts were kind of made throughout the day. In the afternoon, all the veterans would come in. The veterans did not have to come to the first half of the day. They came in the second, and the veterans always had to perform. They performed 4 to 5 different routines all in a row. And as a veteran, that was part of our tryout, was this whole performance to kind of show all of the incoming people what they can expect and what kind of dances they can expect throughout their year. So that was a part of our tryouts. After that first day, there was, at the end of the day, there were cuts made again. There was also a routine taught in there. The veterans had to catch up to everything that all the new people had already learned in the morning. So we had less time to learn everything. But, they want to see if we can still keep up with everything. So there was another routine in the afternoon, more cuts made, and then we went to what we called mini camp, which was about 3 days long, intense, full of kicks, technique work, across the floor work, mini routines, and then 2 main routines. One maybe a little bit more jazz, hip-hop-y, and usually one, Pom-ish, I guess I would call it. I don't know if that's really a category, but kind of sort of. If anyone's ever used Poms, you know what I'm talking about. Very sharp movements with Poms. So there's usually about 2 to 3 different dances and routines. And at the end of the week, whatever third day that was, we had to go in and we had to perform. And they would just continuously call different numbers into the room. So, a lot of times I would be with this group, but then maybe they would pull me and I would dance with another group and go back into the room. And so you kind of never really knew how many times you were going to have to dance on that last day. You always kind of hoped you could just do like one and be done and they saw you enough. But yeah, sometimes you go back in like 5 times and you're like, oh my God, I feel like I'm dying. But, you get through it because you have to, and you obviously want to make it again. And so yeah, so then at the end of the last day, they call everybody's numbers, and those are the people that make the team.
Wow. Well, hearing all that, it sounds like there are some similarities, but there's also so many disparities between NFL and NBA. And yes, as Austin said, I was very curious because, I've kind of been immersed in NFL world, and it's nice and refreshing to hear what you guys are doing. It sounds like a lot. So I actually do have a question kind of leading up to that. I feel like this requires a lot of time, and I feel like it's a schedule. Like I heard you say that your schedule revolved around, basically the Bulls. So what was your schedule like, and how did you balance it all and make it all work?
I was really fortunate. And as far as I know, so for any future girls that may be trying to try out, I don't know if this is a rule anymore. But when I was on the team, we all had to have full-time jobs or be going to school. So you definitely had to either have a boss that was very understanding and just willing to work with you in terms of the timing that you had to be at the games, because a lot of games are during the week. They're not on the weekends all the time. So girls, depending on traffic, might have to leave a half hour early, or and there really was no missing games. You missed a game if you were sick, or the occasional work trip or something that had to go on that there was just no way around it. But, you know, we had so many girls that were teachers, special education teachers, legal assistants, sales associates, kicking butt everywhere, dentists, girls in dental school. So we had a lot of smarties around, which I always really enjoyed. But for me, I was fortunate. I had my own personal training business, and I was doing acting work and different things that I was able to kind of arrange my schedule to be around the Bulls, which was always awesome. And my clients were always fantastic and understanding if something came up and we had to switch a day, you know, I would have to do that. So fortunately for me, I was very, very grateful that I had a schedule that I could do that with. But a lot of the other girls, I mean, they just made it work. They were up early, you know, whether they had to get into work early so they could leave early to be anywhere that they needed to be. You know, there was nights where you just didn't sleep a lot because you just got everything done, but it was totally worth it. So, yeah, you had to definitely keep a really good calendar or you could totally miss something.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. And, you know, it's great to hear you reinforce this because we talk about this all the time, how a lot of people don't really know that we have full-time jobs outside of cheer professionals.
Yes. Yes.
And so hearing you say that and hearing you talk about all of the sacrifices that have to be made and the flexibility to make this happen is really awesome. And I'm glad to see that it's a prevalent theme, or I guess among all cheerleading. So that being said, why don't you talk a little bit about your fondest memory as an NBA dancer?
Oh my God, there was so many great ones. One of my favorites, though, and it always comes back up, was I had just come back from Miss USA, and for those of you who may not know, the Miss USA pageant is coming up, actually, very soon, June 8th, and the girls go down about 3 weeks before the live television competition. So you're down, you know, wherever it's at. It was in Las Vegas when I was there. So I was there for about 3.5 weeks before the show even aired. So I had missed, obviously, being at practice, being at the games, because I was gone for almost a month, it felt like. And when I got back, I was really grateful that my director said, you know, hey, they're in the playoffs and you're going to dance, so get ready. And I was so excited and I was so grateful because I had no idea. I understood that I had been gone for, you know, a few weeks. Like, I understood if they're like, okay, well, you can come watch, but you're not going to dance. So I was very, very grateful for that. So my first game back, they were playing Boston in the playoffs, and it went into triple overtime. And that was one of the most exciting things ever because during playoffs, we were fortunate enough that every girl on the team got to be there. So not just 10 of us like regular season, but all 24, 25 of us were on the court dancing together. I was so excited to be back home and be in Chicago and be with my team, and especially after being at Miss USA, and I didn't win Miss USA. So, you know, coming back to Chicago, I was still really grateful to have my team and my city and my state and be there. And at the same time, too, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to pass out. This is 3 extra overtimes, and I haven't danced here for like a month. But it was so much fun, so it was one of the most exciting things ever. I mean, that hardly ever happens. And the fans were going crazy, and, you know, you got like Ray Allen and Kevin Garnett on the team and all of these great historic basketball players playing phenomenal basketball, and it was just so intense and so exciting, and it was like the best game ever to be back at. And then, of course, they go into double overtime the game after that, too, so it was a pretty exciting time.
Wow, I feel like I was there at the game with that recap. So it's not long-winded.
Thank you.
It's detail-oriented. Don't let it
very much.
Be long-winded.
I love it.
Oh goodness.
So Ashley, you've kind of talked a little bit about all of these amazing accomplishments that most people only dream about. So obviously, I want to think that NBA dancing attributed to helping you become who you are. So can you tell us a little bit about how that influenced who you are today?
Of course. You know, there's a lot of similarities and a lot of things that I learned. just for dance my whole life and transitioning that into the real world, and especially being an adult, basically on an adult team. You know, all the girls, if you want to be a Luvabulls, you have to be 21 or over. So you are in the adult stages of your life, and you're learning how to balance things. You know, like I said, there was no missing practice. There was no missing games. You, just like if you're at a job, you don't not show up to work. You don't not let somebody know what's going on. We were all very, very respectful of each other. We didn't speak unless we raised our hand. We didn't cut people off. We always, you know, were basically, I want to say required to, but I feel like it's kind of normal behavior to say, like, please and thank you. And, you know, one of the other things that I learned was we had an awesome choreographer. She was fantastic, but she was hard, and she was hard on us, and she wanted us to be our best. And so she always kind of drilled that into us. And, you know, growing up a dancer or an athlete, I imagine for, you know, a lot of other men and women out there that do any sort of team sport or even an individual sport, if you have a coach or a director, you know, they're going to give you constructive criticism. And a lot of times, I think that's very hard to take in, especially if you've never experienced that. And for us, it was always like, take it and let it go and work on it. And there are no excuses, and there are no, and I find it very, very interesting because I see a lot of that in the real world, being in business and in, you know, kind of running my own side of business and watching other people and their businesses. You know, sometimes I look at people and I think, well, how do you run a business? You know, there's a lot of people that take so many things very personally, and I think it affects business, and when it doesn't need to. You know, I'm sure there are at times where, you know, there's things. But so, yeah, so I feel like that's a huge thing, is just, you know, there was no time to be wasted with dramatics. We all very much cared about each other, respected each other, supported each other, and that's just kind of who we were. And I think that was a testament to our director and our choreographer, because they really wouldn't have it any other way. And, you know, even just some things from our director, we were always, you know, she always wanted us to look our best. We showed up at practice, we showed up at games looking how we did at appearances, at games, you know. She always used to say, and it's so true, why would you not want to look your best? You know, you have those random moments where you would sneak out of the house with, like, no makeup on or something, and then you'd run into somebody. And then I would be like, okay, and this is why she said, like, don't ever leave your house without looking like your personal best. That doesn't mean, you know, you have to do anything crazy all the time. But I kind of feel like that's a good habit for anyone. I don't know. Life is kind of a job opportunity in itself, and first impressions are a big deal. And so that's something that, you know, I always took with me, especially too being a part of the pageant world. We always had to, for Luvabulls, we had to do our own hair and our own makeup. We didn't have makeup artists and hairstylists there at every game. We had to do everything ourselves. And one of the reasons why she wanted that was because she wanted us to be able to do it, especially when we traveled overseas. You know, we didn't have that sort of added bonus of having all of that. So she wanted to make sure we could do it ourselves. And especially being in the pageant, I found that that helped me greatly, because I met girls that didn't know what to do. They had to depend on a makeup artist and a hairstylist. Half the time they didn't like it, and they didn't really know how to make themselves look their best so they could feel their best. So that's also another piece that I think I definitely learned a lot about in the NBA. And I learned about airbrushing and eyelashes, and that was super fun too. So.
Oh, I love that. And, you know, so many things about what you touched upon are things that, you know, we try to emphasize, and I think every one of our guests has talked about. It's the professionalism and the network of women that kind of come together. And you're right, we don't have time for dramatics. We're there to get the job done. And I think that that's a lot of people, a lot of what people fail to see about who we are as professionals and as professional cheerleaders. So thank you for saying. Thank you for reiterating the obvious.
No problem.
Now, the secret's out. You kind of answered one of my next questions. You know, anybody who follows you on Twitter can see, you know, by your Twitter handle, Body by Bond, that you are a personal trainer, and you've mentioned that personal training is very important to you.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got started with your business and what allowed it to flourish?
You know, I've always been interested in fitness. It's something that I took an active interest in from the time I was probably in 7th or 8th grade. And when I was in college, I actually received my Bachelor of Science in Kinesiology, which is the study of human movement, just in case, because some people don't know what it means. So I received my Bachelor of Science degree in that. You know, and I always kind of felt like everything tied together. I always believed that if you felt good, that would kind of come out and allow you to do so many other things in life. I feel like it's so hard to do things when you don't feel good, whether that's you physically don't feel good or you don't feel good about yourself and you're not confident. And, you know, being active was always something that was really important to me and really important to my parents. Like I said, they put me in dance when I was 2 years old. I was going to always be doing something. And I was the girl doing cartwheels like in the middle of t-ball, so sports was kind of not the route for me, so dance was the route. And so it kind of became a natural fit. I worked at Crunch Fitness for a while, personal training. I had phenomenal employees and bosses and continued to learn a great deal being there. And then I decided, I took a 2 years off probably, especially when I was doing Miss USA or Miss Illinois, and because I really wanted to focus on all of my charity work and different things with that. And when I came back, I decided that I wanted to do it independently and do it on my own. And I loved it. I love being with my clients. I love helping other people try to accomplish all of their things that they want. I also became the personal training sponsor for Miss Illinois USA and Miss Teen Illinois USA, and so I've been doing that for the last, I think, 2 to 3 years now. So I train the girls before they go to nationals, and you know, I just love working with the younger girls, especially too because they're so excited and they're so inspired and they work so hard for something, and I think that's really important, especially now. I feel everyone always thinks everything's going to happen without hard work, and that's unfortunately not true. And so I loved working with the girls, and you know, fitness is just like anything else. If you want something, you have to work for it, whether that's to cut your mile time down by a minute, or you know, you want to fit into these jeans that you haven't worn in 10 years, or you know, you just want to go to the beach and you're a guy and you want to take your shirt off and you want to feel great. I mean, so it all kind of ties in together. But yeah, I really love working with the younger girls, especially. But yeah, so it just kind of felt like a natural fit. I'm a pretty positive and motivating person from, I think, especially from what my clients tell me too. So I really enjoy working with all of them.
Well, I have to interject here and give all three of us a pat on the back real quick. Okay, so I'm gonna get some exercise in, patting us all three on the back. First and foremost, I have to say, Ashley, I love the way your eyes light up when you keep talking about NBA dancing and the Luvabulls. I mean, this is something you did for 6 years. You've expressed how difficult and taxing it is and how hard it was, and you just completely light up like a Christmas tree. Like your eyes just get wide, you've got this great smile. I mean, I love it. I mean, you are the example of what this is all about. I mean, inspiring others, being positive, working hard, and loving it, truly loving it. So I have to pat you on the back there. So there you go. And Selena, this is good because Ashley said something that I absolutely love. Selena off air, I'm actually her publicist and manager, and she asks me this all the time off air. She's like, why did you pick me? And it's so funny because I mean she knows a lot about me, and she wants to know why I picked her to be involved and be on the Pom Poms and basically be the spokesperson for this. And it's exactly what you said, Ashley. It's awesome. She was on one of my NFL VR live shows, which is a little football show I do, you know, and just talk to former NFL players, fantasy football, cheerleaders, whatever, you know, just things that football fans are very interested in. and she came on the show and she just knocked it out of the park. And I mean, it was like she said before the show, ironically, life is an audition, or everything is an audition. What was it that you said? Well, you said something along those lines. But anyway, the point is so, you know, kudos to her for proving Ashley perfectly right, which was very strange. And then me.
It's something that we all learn from professional cheerleading, that
Yeah,
you have
I have to say.
on. Somebody's always watching, even when you think they're not. And just like you said, you're going to bump into somebody if your hair's in a bun.
Yes.
Security. There's no
and
makeup.
It's so true. And that was something, too, that our choreographer always said to us, you know, those fans don't care if you're having a bad day. And that was always something that I even took myself from college, and especially being a part of the Bulls. You know, we live in an economy where not everybody gets to go and experience a professional sporting event, and maybe that's something that happens once in somebody's lifetime, and they're there to experience the whole entire thing. And who am I to ever devalue or not give that best possible experience for someone else? So every time I went out to perform, I really, for me personally, I didn't think about myself. I thought about the little kid who was at his first Bulls game, or these diehard fans up in the 300 level that have been trying to go to a game for 10 years and have never been to one, and this is their first game there. And for me, that was always the most exciting part, because it's true. I have one of the greatest jobs in the world, and that's to try to help make other people happy and to experience something that I know is so great, and kind of be there and make their experience the best one. So.
Yeah, and I can back that up, because as big of a sports nut as I am, and as many football and baseball games I've been to, I have been to one NBA basketball game in my entire life. And of course, guess who it was, ironically enough? The Chicago Bulls and Michael Jordan.
Yeah!
So
that's a good one to be at.
Back to this patting ourselves on the back thing. And I'm doing it indirectly because of what things that you have said here, Ashley, so far tonight. You were talking about people have forgotten basically the work part, how hard it is to really accomplish your dreams. And one thing I always say, I'm sure you've seen it a blue million times, I'm sorry, is DVWA, which stands for Dream, Believe, Work, Achieve. And it's so funny to me that people are so lazy these days. It blows my mind. You know, and it blows my mind to the point that people are trying to steal my little initial term that I've been saying for half my life. But here's what they're doing. They're saying what do they say? They're saying DBA. They're completely leaving out the W. They're leaving out the work, because people don't believe in work anymore. You know, and it blows my mind, because I mean, I sleep 4 hours a day, 5 hours a day maybe. You know, and I do pretty good. But anyway, back to no more patting ourselves on the back thing. But I had to do that just because Ashley proved all these points by telling us about them and proving it through her experiences, which is amazing and awesome, and so honored to have her on the show tonight. Anyway, so back to Ashley, because it's all about you. It's your world. We're just here to showcase you. So Ashley, in addition to being, goodness gracious, I mean, what else could you accomplish? But in addition to being Miss Illinois USA 2009, being a Luvabulls for 6 years, you have also gotten into the entertainment industry, which you slightly touched on a little bit. Obviously, I've been in the entertainment industry for a very long time, but mostly behind the scenes. Just stepped out from behind the curtain this past year, actually. So my question is did the NBA or Miss Illinois USA, what kind of roles did those play in being able to get into the entertainment industry?
You know, being on television and being in front of the camera is something that I wanted ever since I was a little kid. You know, as I got older, college was always really important to me, so I did that and worked on that, and then the Bulls, and I wanted to perform. And absolutely, I had hoped that being a part of the Bulls and being hopefully winning and doing it, being a part of the pageant system would open more doors as well. And I have to say that it definitely has. But again, I feel like they all kind of work together. You know, it's taking what you really want and going after it. You know, those two things can only provide so much, but it's your job to do something with them. So, you know, I think because I was Miss Illinois, I was able to get an agent, which allowed me to go on auditions, to start getting commercials, although one of my national commercials did come directly from being a part of the Bulls when they did the 12 Days of Christmas, Christmas Day, because that was when the NBA was in the lockout, I think in 2011. The Budweiser sponsors the NBA, and they did a commercial with LMFAO and a bunch of other people involved, and they had 4 of the Luvabulls fly out to LA and be a part of that commercial for the opening day. So Luvabulls specifically allowed me to do that, which was awesome, because from that I became a must-join for the Screen Actors Guild, which was awesome. So now I'm a part of that union. And so, yeah, so I mean, it has definitely opened up a lot of opportunities. I was able to do a lot of things on Bulls TV, which is the Bulls, you know, internet show where they are always, you know, interviewing the players and doing a lot of different exciting things. So I got to go and interview fans and, you know, showcase a lot of things going on in the United Center, and, you know, giving people a peek into our Luvabull poster shoot. I hosted that video, you know, for 4 years, 3 or 4 years on the team. And so it definitely gave me great opportunities to be able to do things in front of the camera as well. And being Miss Illinois brought me to a lot of different places as well. And it was cool because, you know, being a part of the Bulls when I was Miss Illinois, you know, we got to go overseas, and I got to take my crown and my title and bring that over there into Paris and Amsterdam, and, you know, while we're performing at all these places. And so that was a really unique opportunity. And so, yeah, so I definitely believe they all kind of tied together and gave me opportunities and helped me kind of shape those things that I wanted to do and to be ready for kind of that next step in the entertainment world.
Wow. So, Ashley, you know, I'm hearing you talk, and it sounds like you've had a lot on your plate for quite a while, and it's all very, very inspiring. It's all very, it's very admirable because you've done a little bit of everything. So you kind of answered a few of the questions that I had, but I do have one question because you've talked a little bit about what you've done in the entertainment industry. Do you have any projects on the horizon that you'd feel comfortable sharing with us?
You know, I will say that I have actually made the big move out to LA. So I'm actually so I am actually out in LA, and I'm working with my agent and taking classes at a studio called Warner Laughlin, which I'm super excited about. I love. So kind of delving into acting classes and taking hosting classes with a woman named Marky Costello, who works with a lot of hosts, especially out of E! Entertainment. She has her own show, actually, I believe. I think it's on E! And so, yeah, so kind of further educating myself. You know, I don't believe like I know everything yet, so continuing to help build my craft and, you know, working with my agent, and just got new headshots again. And so, yeah, so I've been out here for a few short months. I'm really excited. But, yeah, so just going to auditions and, you know, kind of working on building things up out here and hopefully taking it to the next level. So we'll see.
Very cool. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I was wondering why there was so much sun in your face. I said,
I know. I'm like, it's still pretty sunny here. I'm like, it's giving great lighting. So I was like, yes.
You look fantastic working in your favor.
Thank you. You guys do too.
Oh, goodness. All right. So, yeah, so I kind of dove into some stuff there, huh? By opening that whole can of worms into the entertainment industry, I suppose. So that's kind of my own fault. But that's good. It's great to know. But let me, you know, before we start to kind of get into wrapping up the show, because I'm looking at the time, and we had the technical difficulties, but obviously we all value our time. But there's something that I have to bring up.
Yes.
You know, we are all positive and rainbows here at Beyond the Pom Poms, and we're all about being part of the solution and not part of the problem. But there are some problems that we at least like to get people's opinions, if you're willing to share an opinion, which obviously I'm talking about the NFL lawsuits from NFL cheerleaders against NFL teams here recently. And, you know, I would like to, A, ask you if you have a little bit of an opinion on that. And then second to that, because I know you're long-winded and you'll have no problem taking this if you take the question.
Detail-oriented, not long-winded.
Okay.
Selena.
I'm long-winded and I'm very anal, so I'll live with long-winded for myself, but I'll start using detail-oriented. But, you know, if you do have a strong opinion on those, we'd love to hear it and for you to share. But on top of that, why do you not think there are lawsuits in other sports? Like we've had an NHL Ice Girl on here that talked, you know, great about it. You obviously are very positive about the NBA and NBA dancing. So, I mean, if you could tell us why those aren't happening in other sports, more so in the NFL. Obviously, we know a lot of details about it behind the scenes, and a lot of ladies have shared with us. But your opinions and your insight, if you would, please.
You know, I think I am a firm believer in doing what you feel is right. And if you're a part of something and you see a need for change, then I think it takes a lot of courage to be one of those people, to believe in something and to go up against an organization that is obviously hundreds and thousands of times bigger than you are. And I think, personally, I think a lot of their reasoning is very valid, you know. So I think it takes a lot of courage to do what they're doing and to stand up for what they believe is right, because I don't think that's easy, and usually that is always met with opposition. But that is how positive changes are made. You know, to be honest, I'm really not sure why that isn't going on in other places. I don't know if it's because people feel it's not needed, if people feel, you know, happy and content with the way everything is. You know, I think there's a lot of teams that are always working and trying to improve the, you know, I don't know if I want to call it the environment for the cheerleaders, at least in my experience. You know, I've been fortunate enough to have been asked my opinion about a lot of things and what I would like to see the team have in the future, and what I would love, you know, for the girls coming in. And so I feel very fortunate that I was able to give my voice, and you know, and I always felt very fortunate being a part of the Bulls, and, you know, I loved it. It's a huge piece of my heart, and you know, so yeah, so I always really enjoyed it. But I have to say that I really give those women credit, because I don't think that that's something easy to do. And I think if you believe in something, you have to be the one to try to change it, or else it's never going to change.
Well, I greatly appreciate that, and sure a lot of people out there appreciate your insight there, because that was a fantastic answer and not necessarily politically correct, so I love it. But there again, you're being an inspiration to people, because you're basically saying stand up for yourself, you know, dream, believe, work, achieve. I'm a new fan. Okay, so anyway, since we've taken so much of your time here this evening, this afternoon in your time zone, would you take a moment to kind of self-promote, you know,
Sure.
kind of tell everybody where they can follow you,
Thank you.
anything you want to kind of share, and that we're going to do a little write-up and put your links on there that you'll be able to find. It'll be beyondthepompoms.com/Ashley -Bond. So we'll put whatever you're saying on here, and you've already told me some things off the air via email. So
Awesome.
you know, please take a moment and self-promote. The floor is yours.
Sure. First, I have to say hi really quick to my parents and my little brothers and my family and everybody, because I love you guys. They're always my #1 fans. And all my friends and the girls on the team, I love you. And Kathy Core and Kim Tyler, my director and choreographer for years. Amazing people, and obviously the whole entire Bulls organization, because I'm so grateful to you guys. But you can find me, and I would love to have you follow me and follow you back and interact with you. You can find me on Facebook. My name is Ashley Bond. I also have my Body by Bond Facebook page. That is my Twitter handle as well. So that is Body by Bond. And my Instagram account, which I'm newly loving. I've only been on Instagram for like a year, and it's blowing up. It's super fun. But on Instagram, my name is Ashley Bond 626. So you can find me at any of those places.
Awesome. Well, we greatly appreciate that. And you're self-promoting. Now, the 626 thing, is that an area code, or is that for like the Mazda 626 car? What's that stand for? Can we get into that?
Sure. That is my birthday. So, yes,
awesome.
So a few weeks away.
so your birthday is coming up here in a few weeks then, right?
It sure is. It sure
right.
is. So I'm very excited.
I would imagine so, especially being new to LA, out there for a few months.
Yes,
I've got a client that just recently moved out there, so it's pretty cool. Anyway, well, we greatly appreciate you being on the show. We appreciate your time and all of your wonderful insight. I think anybody that watches the show at a later date, or that's one of the whopping 133 people watching right now, 332. See, I opened my mouth. That are out there watching us right now, they can obviously appreciate everything that you've said as well. So that being said, Selena, if you would please take a moment to kind of self-promote, let everybody know where they can find you, follow you, and all that fun stuff.
Sure. First off, I want to say thank you for everybody who's watching, everybody who's supported us, and Ashley, I want to personally thank you for coming along with us, coming on the show, and kind of giving your insight, because if I'm not mistaken, you are the first NBA dancer we have on the show. So, here at Beyond the Pom Poms, we aim to inspire, educate, and today has definitely been very educational, and it's been very inspiring, because your positivity is something that I think a lot of girls sometimes lose in the process. We talked about lawsuits, and we talked about disparities, and I think that might be one of the reasons why it doesn't happen in the NBA. There's more of a gratitude and more of a being thankful for where you are culture. So thank you for bringing a light to that.
You're welcome.
So now I'm going to self-promote. You can find me on Twitter. It's at Selina Samano. That's SELINA SAMANO. Or you can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/SS Samano.
All right, and I love it. Selena's getting the hang of this self-promoting thing. She messed up her Facebook real bad one first time. Anyway, again, just to echo what Selena said, we greatly appreciate you being on the show. Actually,
so much.
Really enlightened us, enlightened everybody out there. Greatly appreciate your time, which you have given to us so generously this evening, which is fantastic. Anyway, I'm Austin Jordan. You can find me anywhere. Just Google me. I guess my biggest following is on Twitter at Austin D. Jordan. So anyway, thank you, fans. Thank you for viewing. We appreciate it. As Teresha Howard said last week, subscribe to YouTube channel or whatever all that stuff is. Anyway, on behalf of Ashley and Selena, thank you for watching, everybody. We appreciate it. Have a great evening, and good night.
Thank you. Bye.